morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night, Stadia players and fellow gamers. Welcome to episode 32 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. I'm your host, Chris, joined by my fellow co-hosts in the queues. To my right or left, we've got Mr. Tom, our techie teacher. I'll point and get it right one of these days, Tom. And down below him, we've got our man of many pixels, Mr. What was it, Professor Plum himself?
Professor Plum.
Professor Plum himself. Did we figure out what doctorate Professor Plum had?
No.
Just a doctor of murder.
Botany. It's going to be botany and murder.
A doctor of covering shit up.
He's got two doctorates.
What an effective one. How are you all keeping, gentlemen, since our many live streams this week?
Yeah, fantastic.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
It's been a busy week, right?
Definitely has.
We did, for anyone who's new to the channel, welcome. This is our weekly podcast where we talk about all things Stadia, gaming-related news, and just basically shoot the breeze about any topics that we fancy. But more importantly, we've had a many busy week with, Tuesday was the Stadia Connect, and it feels like an eternity ago. But it was only this week. Am I right in thinking that? It feels like an absolute lifetime ago since we recorded our thoughts and reactions to that.
We tend to have these weeks where all of a sudden everything hits the fan, and it's just like it's like emptying a dump truck of content onto us, and it's just like
definitely
overwhelmed.
It really has been. I think if you've not checked those out, just to get into some housekeeping, we had the podcast dropped on Monday, which was our prediction episode. We'll get into that in a moment in regards to how well we all did. We followed that up with our live reaction on the Tuesday to the Connect itself, which is again up on youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia. We then had Thursday
was Get Packed.
One of the days we had our Assassin's Creed trailer reaction go live. Was that Wednesday?
Could be.
It was one of the days.
One of the days, potentially Wednesday, because I think we wanted to get it up pretty much the day after the trailer dropped.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Did we do anything Thursday?
We did.
We did a stream.
We did Get Packed on Thursday, absolutely.
Right.
We gave away our code.
Thursday.
Somebody in chat got a giveaway code for Get Packed there.
Yeah,
Friday.
Grace from Google almost got it.
Yes, Grace from Chris and Grace of Google almost won the prize. Had to backtrack on that one a little bit.
Graced by Grace's presence.
Yeah,
indeed. Friday was our Spitlings Spectacular day.
Yep.
Saturday, we had our From Purchase to Play episode drop highlighting Zombie Army 4. So if you've not checked that out yet, jump into it. Again, our ongoing From Purchase to Play series where we highlight the convenience of Stadia and how quick you can go from buying the game to playing the game all in under 2 minutes. Go check that out again over on YouTube if you've not seen it. Sunday, today, the day we record the podcast, we just dropped for our patrons out there a special unboxing of my new PC. So we alluded to it earlier in the week, but I trekked myself and reinvested in the Sounds of Stadia headquarters, or a third of the headquarters anyway. I got myself a nice new gaming PC, so I'm going to be able to bring you viewers and audience out there some hopefully better quality live streams and more regular ones going forward. And then tomorrow the podcast drops again, gents. So that is, I think, the first time we have hit every single day of the week. You lucky viewers and listeners out there have had a piece of content.
Consistent.
Holy shit!
We actually dropped two shows on Saturday because we had Lost Words episode 2.
Yeah,
you're totally right. You're totally right.
So we did hit 7 pieces of content in 7 days.
Absolutely.
That is insane. That is insane amount.
No
wonder we can't remember what bloody day it is. They all blare into one big Super Stadia Sunday, Saturday, Monday, month, whatever it may be.
It's been a busy week for Sound of Stadia.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And will we be stopping there? You'll have to stay subscribed and tuned in to find out. Because if you're not subscribed, you won't know, and you'll just go about your day missing out on our lovely voices and faces. But that's your program, I suppose. But no, please click down below, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be kept in the loop with all things Sounds of Stadia. Don't forget the Twitter account as well, where we post most of our updates. We're also over on Facebook if you just search for Sounds of Stadia. We may as well announce it here as well. We've got a great new Facebook partnership with the Google Stadia UK group. So shout out to Derek, who's one of the admins on the group, and Hendo as well. He's another one. Basically, if you are new to Stadia, you're new to our channel. If you're from the UK, or even if you're not from the UK, check that out. Head over to the facebook.com/groups/Google Stadia UK group. That will get you in. And basically, it's a bunch of like-minded people, Brits and amongst others, talking about all things games. They've got a Discord group on the go as well. So basically, like us three, if you are into Stadia, you're into gaming, and you want to play with some fellow gamers out there, and maybe your friend list is a little bit too small, jump out, connect. That's what this community is all about, getting to into the deep dive of the games with fellow people who enjoy the same content that you do. So go check that out. It's well worth it. We're all in there, and we chat as well. So if you want to be more connected to us, do that. And then finally, gentlemen, I think we might as well point out as well our Patreon channel. Patreon.com/SoundsStadia, where we've got, as I mentioned, exclusive content dropping on there. You can write in with your questions for the show as well, just like a few new Patreons did. We have, I won't say the surnames because I don't know if that's appropriate to drop the full names in here. So we'll say we've got Ben, just subscribed this week. We've also got Chase. Thank you, my friend. You've been one of our biggest supporters for a long, long time now. And Michael D as well over there. So the Patrons are on the rise, which is why we're trying to get as much content out for you as possible. And we do have some of their questions, which we will get to later on in the show. But for now, the dock is blank for the retcon ritual, which means we may or may not pick up this last week.
Nothing we're aware of, anyway.
No one has made us aware that we screwed up. So 7 days of content.
I think we're clear. We're clear.
Legit.
For now.
Yeah.
For now. So things is a bumper episode, gentlemen. Tom, that gets us straight into...
No, it doesn't, Chris. I'm going to hold your horses right there. Because we also have a shout out from one of our patrons as well. Everybody, we've said before, Ashley is one of our patrons as well. She wants to give a shout out to another member of the Stadia community, a founder in the community, Artemis. That's Artemis spelled ART3 Miss MISS. A star for effort in rejoining the Monopoly game they were playing the other day. It was a 3-hour bumper Monopoly game, and Artemis seemed to drop connection quite a lot. Ultimately went bankrupt, but persisted in rejoining the game just to spectate to the end. So if you're out there, Artemis, as a founder, leave a comment. Let us know that you've heard this. I know you've sent some friend requests out to people as well. So, we do give shout outs to people in the community. But yeah, it's always good to shout out people in the community. So A star for effort. A star for effort. Now we'll get onto it.
Yeah.
What will we be getting into, Tom?
I think that might be the super sexy special Stadia Stories segment, aka the news.
The news. I just
I have
feel
no
like it
idea
needs an
for that.
echo.
Yeah.
Like an echo reverb. One day we'll have. There's a bird in the office.
Apparently so.
It's the bird of news. Take flight, gentlemen. We'll flap our wings and bring you all the stories from the week in Stadia and gaming. Now, as I alluded to earlier on, we had a hell of a busy week, kicking off with Monday with our predictions. Go check out last week's episode. It's been doing really, really well over on YouTube. But speaking of predictions, let's unravel that a little bit more. Our pizza bet, we had it on. Richie, you were keeping... Are we at the scores?
Yes, I kept scores during it, and the scores stand. Tom, 0. Big fat nothing.
Yep.
And Chris with 1, and myself with 1. But shout out to Chris because he was quite pessimistic with the point I got, and his discussion on last week's show was the reason I actually went for it.
I've noticed as well I could actually still lose the point because I specifically said FIFA 21. I wanted to hedge my bets a little bit more particular. Now, they did just say FIFA, and my understanding of it is that if they're not going to bring it out anytime in the next month or two, the general release for every annual iteration of FIFA is in the September time. So my guess is that it's pointless working on an old game, right? If the full development studio is now gun-ho for the next FIFA 21 game, which give or take how the football season is going to roll out due to the whole global situation right now, September's got to be a shoo-in for a day and date, right, gentlemen?
Well, within the announcement, they said that the EA games, the titles will be coming in fall, so that lines up very nicely. I think FIFA 21's a safe bet. I'd put a tick next to that one.
But if FIFA 20 comes out in the interim, you owe me a pizza.
Wow.
That is fine.
Wow.
That is a fair bet. I staked my bets on 21, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But didn't we agree anywhere that our Patreon Ashley is going to buy us anywhere? Because if we drew,
Yeah,
she
well,
would've- she
I
would've
kind of
bet.
just decided that unilaterally, and she has been very vocal about it not happening.
We'll see. We'll see.
But Ashley owes us a pizza.
But
As long as
wow.
there's enough
What an
pineapple on it.
announcement, right, guys? What an announcement.
Sports games that are not MotoGP racing motocross style games. I'm
I
happy to
am-
get a wider berth of sports.
I am bloody disappointed that I did not call Jedi Fallen Order as an announcement as one of my predictions. I'm really frustrated by that because we've all been saying how much we want Fallen Order to come to Stadia. And EA just go and say, here you go. Here it is.
I feel like
Hey, listen to us.
Yeah, part of me, the Force Ghost in my ear was not whispering to me and saying that they were going to do it. I had reservations. I wanted it 100%, but I just didn't see them digging into that big of a title.
Chris, your midichlorian count is clearly too low.
It is, yeah.
I actually think EA have done the right thing, in my opinion, in this, because EA, when they've ported stuff to other platforms, have always been a bit wishy-washy sometimes, especially when it's like port things to Nintendo and you're getting like older versions of like FIFA or with, well, the older engine with the new logo attached to it. Where this time they've come out, well, got what, FIFA, Madden, and one of the biggest games they released last year. It's like, it shows the good support. That's what you want to see.
Yep.
Some massive titles. Tom, you're excited for Madden, I believe?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm hoping that we got the announcement as part of the Connect where EA said 5 titles, but we only really had 3 announced. So we had Jedi Fallen Order, we had FIFA, and we had Madden. So it leaves 2 open. Now, I'm quite a big ice hockey fan, so it'd be quite nice to get NHL 21 come to Stadia as well there. But is it going to be another sports title? We don't really know. We'll have to wait and see.
I rewatched the Connect earlier, and it was explicitly the sports titles with Madden and FIFA name dropped, but maybe maybe the other 2 are sports titles.
Yeah, perhaps. Perhaps.
How does the hockey season generally run? Like annually, Tom? What's the...
So it usually finishes around about April, and then you have like the post-season Stanley Cup tournament that runs following on from there. But yeah, it's usually around about the same sort of time, like starts September, October time, all things considered. But again, like most sports at the moment, it's been shut down, so we don't really know what's going to happen with the current season. Are they just going to call it quits, or are they going to push it later and then knock everything on? It's difficult to say, but typically, yes, like most sports.
Yeah, it's one thing we've not really touched on, how the situation in the world right now impacts... We've said how it impacts games. We spoke about it in many episodes, but it's interesting to think how like real life sports now may have an impact on the gaming landscape in this regard. How, a game like FIFA, I did watch some of the Barclays Premier League. They actually got some of the players from the teams themselves to take part in a FIFA tournament. I believe it was Wolverhampton Wanderers who came out on top, beating Liverpool. Just because they just got one of the best players from the team, played their games against the teams digitally and broadcast live, which I think is a clever workaround for those fans out there who are thirsty for their sport that they've been deprived of for so many weeks now as we reach the end of the season. And this is now surely going to have a knock-on effect, because if the next season doesn't start in September, or the hockey season doesn't start when it's supposed to, what repercussions? Do they just sack off a year, or do they just keep pushing their current version out and bring the roster update?
You generally don't know, because even like the current season is kind of in flux a bit. I think the season in the Netherlands has actually been formally cancelled and moving on to next season. But in most other countries, it's all really up in the air. I think the Bundesliga might be talking about restarting in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But at the moment, for the Premier League, I've heard nothing. For like the Spanish League, heard nothing. So it is really interesting. Well, and if the Premier League restarts in, I don't know, August and continues through to the end of the year, how does that affect the game? Yeah.
Like most things, time will tell. It's everything is going to be different. Everything is going to be different. So we'll just find out eventually.
We'll just play games.
We'll play games. That's what we're here for. That's what we do.
But yes, I think to bring all the EA stuff together, it's fantastic. We know they've been partnered with Stadia since day one. in regard to them having their logo on the backdrop, but we've not had a peep out of them. So for them to come out swinging with, in my opinion, Game of the Year for 2019. I don't know about no, Richie, you finished it now. How would we feel it stacks up against the contenders for 2019?
It's definitely up there. But for me, it was more of an 8 out of 10 game. There was some things of the game I just like the parry system. Even at the end of the game, just never felt good to me, and the combat being a big part of it. So there was a few issues there, a few issues with the camera that made me not be absolutely adore the game, but merely just very much like it.
What was your game of the year?
I don't really know. 2019 was a very sparse year, to be honest.
We not possibly an episode about it.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
I thought we made a point of discussing it for a while.
Yeah.
Tom, what was yours? Were you in the same camp as me with Fallen Order?
I think I went Sekiro. I might have gone Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, but I personally, in my heart, I think Jedi Fallen Order, but Jedi Fallen Order wasn't a nominee for the time because it was too late for the nominations.
Damn Game Award stipulations. Yeah, it was definitely mine. I think mine was a toss-up between Control, which won a lot of outlets Game of the Year, and Jedi Fallen Order, but I really think the Star Wars IP pulled me towards that one more. But I'm excited to jump back in, actually. I've got Control DLC to play, which came out last month. And if this comes out it's rumored to be August time, correct, for Fallen Order?
Yeah.
So that feeds nicely into... It's not even that far away, August. That's the crazy thing. Like, as all these months tick over, we're in May now, exactly.
It's all, again, with lockdown and so on, it's just everything's just blurring together into one big thing. Like, I don't even know what to describe it as anymore. It's just a big like mess of... It's a holiday, but it's not a holiday, really.
I wish it was a holiday. Sunshine, rain, sunshine, mojitos on the beach, all that kind of stuff. So we got
I've ever seen you drink a mojito.
I don't really like them, to be fair, but it seems to be the drink. Pina colada, rum and something on the beach. But we'll get there eventually, ladies and gentlemen. But for now, we will move on to the other games that were announced, which they came out swinging with another big hitter, which we have spoke about. PUBG. Just out of all of the battle royales, as we mentioned in previous weeks, and yes, I said was probably the least of the battle royales, which I still stand by the way. I still think Fortnite was on top, followed by Apex, and Call of Duty Warzone is in the mix somewhere, depending on who you speak to. It's definitely the lesser
your assessment was
the battle royales.
Spot on, in my opinion, which is why I actually went for it, because it needs to get, it's fallen away, it needs to get that mind share. I was surprised that it was out now and a pro game, but that's what we got.
Especially because it has been pay to play on other platforms as well. That was kind of what scuppered it a little bit over the last couple of years. It had such a good rise to it, kind of pioneered the genre of battle royale. And then as the free games have came out, naturally everyone just gravitates towards the free variant because
Fortnite hammered it. Fortnite being free to play and had a bit more of a cartoony aesthetic and a bit more approachable for a younger audience, absolutely destroyed PUBG.
Agreed.
Could you imagine an alternate universe where PUBG, because I'm pretty sure at early doors they had a lot of lawsuits with Epic, and like they tried to say you can't just steal our idea of Battle Royale because they pioneered it. And then there was a lot of back and forth. I remember loads of articles going up about like lawyers and pressing charges and stuff for copying the idea. Imagine in an alternate world where they went through and Epic was shut down and they weren't allowed to go ahead and they had to stick to their... Let's all remember Fortnite was about saving the world, building buildings and killing zombies originally until the Battle Royale element of it took off. We could be in a very different position right now if PUBG had pushed through with those and got an approval from a judge's court ruling.
Yeah, but I don't think... I think it was always a doomed to failure because it'd be almost like Bethesda going to, id Software going to like Call of Duty and going, no, you can't make a first-person shooter because we made Doom back in the day.
Yeah. Genres are a flexible thing, that's for certain.
And with Fortnite, they had something novel on top of it with the building mechanics that PUBG didn't have, so you could go, well, this is our take on the genre. Yeah. And PUBG wasn't even the first one anyway. No. It was the first popular one.
It was, yeah. You've got to think, I mean, the Battle Royale sort of stem, I suppose, from this idea of like the Hunger Games-esque tournament. There were loads of games on Steam, for example, prior to PUBG even coming out that followed that same sort of mechanic. PUBG, again, I mean, I've said this in the community and I've said it to you guys off stream, but What I'm really happy for, and I think Richie absolutely spot on with the way that you thought about it and came to the conclusion that we'd be getting PUBG. It does sort of feel like it's like the rotten meat being thrown to the dogs, because it's sort of like, here's a game that's however many years old, enjoy it and so on. But having jumped into it, the player base is still very much alive. And we do have to say, it is cross-platform. So you do jump into it and you are playing against Xbox players, PlayStation players, and you can very easily determine who is who by the icons in the corner next to their names. It shows whether, if you're a Stadia player, you've got the Stadia S. If it's an Xbox player, you've got an Xbox controller. If it's PlayStation controller. But not only that, if you actually go mouse and keyboard with it, you get matched up against mouse and keyboard players. So
I think it's a brilliant thing.
I think it is fantastic.
If you remember way back when we first started this little podcast of ours, I was saying one of the things that attracted me to Google Stadia is the fact that it's almost a hybrid between traditional PC gaming and console gaming. And PUBG is a perfect example where that could work.
Definitely.
You can, if you want to play with a mouse and keyboard, you can. If you want to play with gamepad, you can. Both are equally viable, and the player base is split, so you don't get destroyed if you're using a controller against PC players.
Yeah, we've alluded to it before, the fact that everything's done server end. There's a whole wealth of games that maybe wouldn't be able to run on traditional consoles that can come to Stadia. And I know, Richie, I think you're a big fan of the idea of more PC ports coming across. Definitely. This is, it's a good one that lends itself to accessibility and just how much you can just pick it up with basic stuff and play in the way you want to play. You're not limited by the console, maybe its preferred default. So this is huge. Have either of you had a chance to jump in and play some PUBG with our exclusive Stadia parachute and bright neon red detailing that makes you stand out in a field or at any time yet? Yeah. What have you thought? Early takes?
I've played one game, and to be honest, I'm happy for it to be there, but I kind of want to play with you guys. I don't think it's a game that I particularly enjoy on my own.
I've jumped into several games, and I do sort of feel like, Richie, I think it's a game that's better enjoyed as a group, where you can strategically plan, like, right, guys, we're going to drop into this point, grab as much loot as you can, then this is where we're going to head. Very, very much more likely to succeed as a group rather than solo. Yeah. But I have played a few games by myself. Very happy with myself the other day. I did manage to get 7 kills before I died, so I'm proud of that one. But then I was... Sorry?
Have you had a chicken dinner yet?
No chicken dinnies. No chicken dinnies.
Just beef for Tom still. Then.
Just beef with other players. It does matchmake you with other people though, so you usually get dropped into a team with randomers. Of which I didn't catch his name. He wasn't Xbox player, but whoever it was I was playing with after I got my 7 kills, it's your reason I died. You're the reason I died. What
about you about to say he carried you there?
Nah, He sat outside the building where I was hiding in a car, beeping the horn. Beep, 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 beep. All of a sudden, another car full of people comes up. He gets killed. They come into the building. I'm dead. Shit happens. Wow. Shit happens.
My kill to death ratio currently stands 1 kill, 1 death. So I'm okay with that.
Never playing it again.
Yeah.
Bowing out now while you can, yeah. Do you think that guy, the Xbox player, Tom, was just kind of like, look, Stadia player.
He's a Stadia guy. Quick, beep.
Look, this guy. He's wearing his bright red hat.
The one thing I will say about the Stadia merch in the game is that is going to get you killed.
Oh,
it's bright
absolutely.
red, and everything is a bit more muted green colours. You are going to stand out from a mile away.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing the Stadia. I've got the Stadia glasses on because they won't stand out as much. Yeah. But like the Stadia hoodie is like, it's bright red.
How much of this in-game merchandise do you think will make it to the real world? I've seen loads of people on Twitter saying, "Get me those sunglasses, get me that frying pan. I would buy that."
I'd like to see the shades. I'd like to see the shades. I think.
You know what? I would love to see Google come out with some actual Stadia merch that you can just go and buy
straight from the Google store.
Yeah. Well, only with the Stadia logo. I want a Google Stadia t-shirt.
Yeah, definitely. We'd wear it when we stream the podcast. But yeah, so PUBG, huge. We are working on stuff behind the scenes, aren't we, Tom? It's all hush at the moment.
I don't know what you're talking about, Chris.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I said behind the scenes, hush.
Yeah, but you could definitely expect to see some PUBG content from us. I know there's a lot of people out there who want to see that kind of thing. So we are talking about it at the moment. So you can expect some sort of announcement in the coming week or so.
Yeah. Other games we got, I was surprised by this. Richie, you're a big fan of this as well. Octopath Traveler from Square Enix, making its way it's breaking that Nintendo console exclusivity and made its way out now. Like they dropped it there at the show.
Yeah, it has been on PC already. So just so no one don't get so we don't have an incident of another retcon ritual there. But no, Octopath Traveler is an awesome game if you like JRPGs. And it's something I think me and you, Tom, are both in agree with, that we need more RPGs on Stadia.
Oh, God, yeah, definitely.
We've got one.
Yeah. And especially those, yet, are sort of waiting for a price drop. This Octopath Traveler has been notorious for not having many sales on platforms. But it has been on sale recently on other platforms, so, on Switch and on PC. So it'd be nice to see that soon. I am holding off on it, but it's definitely a game that I'll be picking up at the right price.
It's Square, and we're seeing quite a few Square deals on Stadia, so it's possible. But I love that game, but I won't be buying it again because I have it on my Switch, so I don't really see much point in buying it on Stadia personally. But if it's a game you haven't played and you're interested in JRPGs, it goes back to the almost SNES style of JRPGs, even with the pixel art graphics, and so it's a bit more of a throwback, which I found quite refreshing when I played it.
It's quite.
I don't think it was long after Final Fantasy 15 that I actually played it, where Final Fantasy 15 moved the JRPG more toward the action genre, and this kind of just stays with the roots. So
it's very interesting the way that it's created, and that it's got that 2D pixel element, and everything is 2D pixel art, but it's like in a 3D world, isn't it? So everything is almost like layered on it. If you remember back on the original PlayStation, do you remember Tombo or Tombi? The little like caveman guy with the pink hair and the pigs. It's got almost that kind of feel to it, where it's like flat characters in a 3D-esque world, per se. That's in terms of like the way you interact with the world. But as Richie said, absolutely, it's a classic JRPG with classic JRPG elements. Definitely something that I'll be picking up because I'm sort of hungering for that a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, and it's marked out £50 or $49.99, I think, at the moment. So yeah, it's one that if it has been on sale elsewhere, it's definitely marked up. I always presume because it had that Nintendo kind of caveat to it, much like a lot of Nintendo games, they just retain that price point. They do not move. They do not budge whatsoever. Hopefully, as you said, Tom, we'll see some pro deals coming to Stadia, as they have been good with the Tomb Raider games and other ones.
Yeah, it's definitely worth picking up. To be honest, I'd even say it's with the amount of time you'll get out of the game, it's probably worth the full price. You're looking 80 hours plus to complete the game.
Excellent. So that's a lot of time spent. Just like you can spend a lot of time moving house, isn't that right, gentlemen? Moving house, moving things, throwing stuff out of the apartment, which brings us on to the next game. Get Packed from Moonshine came out this week. We played it on our live stream on the one of the days, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, maybe. I have no idea. Check out our YouTube channel, as I mentioned. It's a great Let's Play. We go through. We basically check out Get Packed. All three of us jump in and clear some houses out. Get all that stuff out there. Do we get hit by cars? Do me and Tom have a rivalry back and forth about locking each other in the removal van and sending each other packing? Does Richie knock out a pensioner who's simply trying to do his job in a museum? You'll have to tune in to find out.
Taking part in some human trafficking.
We got 3 stars on that mission.
We did. I had a great time with it. For anyone who's not checked it out yet, it's a removal game, very similar to we said it prior when we knew about the trailers and everything. Overcooked. It echoed that when we played the game. As soon as we jumped in, we were all laughing, grabbing hold of stuff, smashing it off each other, being hit by cars, stealing a policeman, all those like crazy couch co-op fun. It's like I'd love to play that one day with all three of us in one room together. But it was still evidently fun online, chatting. We had a great laugh with it. We'll definitely probably be playing some of that more in the future too.
Almost certainly, yes.
Of course we will.
Almost certainly. We haven't had I haven't seen any reviews for it yet, because obviously it's stealth drop on the Connect, and this is a weird thing with Stadia games where I don't think they get the shine that they deserve. So like we've got Guilt, which is like a little indie darling that's got great reviews, but it doesn't really get the focus it needs because it's kind of behind this Stadia, not even paywall, just the Stadia.
I think we touched on this not I think it might not been last week or the week before, where the bigger sites are starting to pay a bit more attention to Stadia.
Mhm.
Like we've had things like IGN and Digital Foundry starting to publish a bit more stuff. So it feels to me like they're starting to test the waters to see if there is an audience there. And bear in mind, these are the sort of sites that do get their reviews count towards a Metacritic rating.
Yeah.
So as these start paying a bit more attention, I think it'll almost be a snowball effect when they start going, oh, if a lot of people clicking on these articles, and I'm talking about the actual unbiased, decent reviews, not just shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you click on them, they'll start paying more attention. They'll start reviewing the games, and it gives that bit of a snowball effect.
I do know that with Get Packed, there is going to be a lot of content that comes to Stadia eventually as well. It's not all there at the moment. I think they're going to be adding more levels, more customization options. It's one of those games that you can just, you can expect to see more things over time.
I think they're talking about Play Connect and stuff as well. Some of the features that aren't there on Stadia that we know are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, the devs have spoke openly in some of their interviews they've done about that they are working about the whole crowd play and stuff, but we need Stadia to pull the plug on it and say, not pull the plug on it, plug it in, I suppose. Don't kill it yet, it's not out. Yeah, put the switch on it, and basically start rolling these features out there. Which we'll get onto on those features actually later on in the show, because we learned something interesting from our friends at Stadia Source just last night, which we'll get into. So unplugging it, plugging it back in, pour water on it, set it on fire, whatever you need to do. To get it going. Speaking of setting things on fire, that brings us into our next game, which was Ember, which we had a laugh at. I love their trailer video on the Connect. Again, similar like Get Packed, Overcooked. It has been out on Steam since 2019, so it's a game that is out there in the wild if you want to check it out as kind of like an early preview. But it is coming to Stadia. I can't imagine it's that far off, to be honest. It seems like one if it's already out on PC.
It's hard to know with Stadia. It really is.
It could be tomorrow.
Another one of these games that could be a hell of a lot of fun to stream as well. With something like, crowd play, get people in chat typing things that actually interact with the game, and suddenly you've got chaos going on, a meteor comes down and starts setting fire to things you've already put out. I don't know. Some stupid shit like that, really.
It looks almost like a Team Fortress meets Overcooked while putting out fires sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like
interesting game. Again, it's one of those ones we'll probably jump into on a live stream. Set everything on fire. Richie will knock out another elderly pensioner.
Tom will just be in the corner spinning in circles, panicking.
Probably.
That's how we roll. Speaking of that's how we roll, we also had Rock of Ages 3 was announced. Tom, you're massively excited by this game. We've checked it out on previous episodes. Essentially, you can make maps. You are a giant concrete ball, possibly the one from Indiana Jones. We don't know yet. We haven't quite got the casting list for the game. But yeah, you play as a giant ball and you've got to overcome obstacles, fight each other, kind of like a screwball Scrabble kind of board game idea. Well, it's just you've got to navigate the maze essentially. Looks like a lot of fun. Tom, I know you were interested in this. It's from the development team, Ace Team, and Giant Monkey Robot, which I think is a super cool name for an indie developer. Giant Monkey Robot.
Yeah, it's another game that I've been keeping a close eye on because I just think it's the kind of title that lends itself very much to a party element where you can just sit down with mates or on stream or, remotely like this, and we can just have an absolute ton of fun. So essentially what you've got is almost like an asymmetric gameplay where you've got one person or multiple people, we don't know yet, who roll their giant ball characters, whatever name they actually go by, down a track, like downhill, while the other person, the person who's sort of like the track master, has control of being able to put obstacles in their way. So it could be things like giant swinging mallets, it could be stone walls, it could be spikes, it could be birds that come and just get in the way and just become really annoying.
Damn them birds.
Absolutely.
Could be giant scissors.
Giant scissors for those rocks. Rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, but scissors
surely it's the paper.
Yeah.
Surely it's the paper. But
paper.
Definitely one that I think, again, you could have a ton of fun with it. I've not actually played the original or the second, so I can't say much about it.
Yeah, I had the original. It was a PlayStation Plus game, for PlayStation 3. That's how long ago it was. Wow. And it very much was. You start at the top of a hill, you have to roll down and navigate around edges and knock out like enemies, I think, as they attack you, just to reach like the finishing line at the end. And you always end up barreling through the finishing line whether it was like Skittles or a building or something, trees. And then they kind of just like panned out and that was your map and you got your time for the level. It was very much more of like a time trial game, whereas now it seems a lot more co-op. The fact that it's got a third game surprises me, but evidently they're just iterating on what was already fun to begin with. Crazy stuff. The biggest interesting game for me that came out of all this was actually the Creator one, the Stadia, because I don't think any of us had heard of it before. It had such a Fortnite aesthetic to it. I think that pricked everyone's ears up thinking, is this Fortnite? And then we were told it wasn't. It's an interesting one because I've been checking out some of their YouTube content and their Twitter channel. It's like kind of like a collaboration game. It seems like all the videos they put up on the YouTube channel at the moment are all developers from other studios who are just kind of making their own little mini games. Very, very similar to Dreams, which is available on PS4. Almost just like kind of, here's your world. You can build, you can craft, you can add rules in, you can take off gravity, you can add weapons, you can add. I think one of the tutorials I watched was basically a stay together to stay warm and alive game where they were in like the Arctic. And if you as a player ventured away from your team, you got cold and died. So you had to work together to find resources to make a fire to stay warm. And that was just one of the many, many iterations of the game you could do within it. I've seen one with guns, hide and seek, tag, everything like that. And it just looks like it's Fortnite kind of mixed with Dreams, Little Big Planet-esque versions of creativity. And more importantly, though, they've already announced it's going to be a free game on Stadia Pro. So they're doing that Fortnite model of it's free to play. What have you two taken away from what you've seen of Creator so far?
It's interesting because if it is almost like a game creation game, like Dreams or things like Little Big Planet back in the day, it could be here for a long time as they keep just iterating and as more creators are building their own stuff. In some ways, if you think like, what was Nintendo? Mario Maker.
Yeah.
Like you could lots of people would like that game because you could just jump in, you could just play levels if you wanted to, or if you're interested in the creation side, you've got that. So it's definitely an interesting get for Stadia.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard to know until you're hands on.
All right.
And
it's one of those where I feel like they can iterate on it more and more. And I think getting it out so early in Stadia's life cycle could bode really, really well for it. I think you were saying there, Richie, Mario Maker, they've just had another update where you're able to build worlds. So I can see if Creator is as open source as they're kind of angling it to be at the moment, you could see people essentially just make several different levels within this world and make their own game, which is what everyone has dreamed of as a kid, right? Making your own games and levels. And
let me put it really simply for you, Chris. Let me put it really simply for you.
Do that,
okay.
Tom.
What better way to get the games you want on Stadia than to just make them yourself? Right?
That's true.
It's very much got the vibe of, to me, something like Gary's Mod. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen any Gary's Mod videos before. On Steam, you've got all of the Half-Life games, Counter-Strike. They're all part of the Source engine. There's a guy, Gary Newman, who created a company, Facepunch Studios, very famous for Rust, who created Gary's Mod, which is a huge sandbox title, right? That has been going since December 2004, and it is still very much played today by thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, because people keep constantly creating new game modes in this sandbox environment using elements from other games that already exist, and all they do is it just picks, you just pick the assets from different games, you load it in, but the sandbox itself, which I'm guessing is the way Creator works, is it's the engine to allow you to have the freedom of tweaking the physics, tweaking the mechanics, and making it the way that you want it to be. So what I do know about it is you can very much have two different experiences with Creator. You can have the experience of playing it using a controller, sitting down and playing Stadia and experiencing the title. But at the same time, you could be working collaboratively with a friend who's on keyboard and mouse at Stadia, using essentially like the dev tools and using almost like a console-based appearance where they can edit things on the fly and just pull that console up and make changes. And that's where I get the Gary's Mod vibes. I think Mario Maker very much hits that on the head as well, like you said there. It's got that sort of aesthetic to it. But I'm going to stick with my first statement with this. Like, what better way to get the games that you want than, if you really want to see certain titles, push something like this to Stadia, which we're getting for free, and then you get free games. That's basically what's going to happen.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how things like collaboration and things go with this going forward. Although I'm not really into making games myself, I really like the fact that these games do exist because, if nothing else, they can stoke the fires of fledgling developers. Like if you're like a 16-year-old looking into going game developer, here's your chance to actually almost start building your portfolio.
And I love the fact that you touched on that because this is something that I would genuinely consider using in a classroom environment. If it is as robust as we've been shown so far, then as soon as I get my hands on it, I'm going to go crazy with it because I'm really looking forward to doing this.
You're going to make us our first Sounds of Stadia official game, Tom?
Yeah, it's Sounds of Stadia Flappy Bird.
It's just me doing this.
Yeah, each level could have a name of the segment of the show. The final boss is Tom's Sunday Beef. You fight a giant cow. That's how it works.
With laser beam eyes.
Laser beam eyes.
Dream big.
Dream big. And create your own game.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's got a bit of Italian to it there.
Yeah.
Creator.
And then final game before we move on to the next story, we got Wave Break, which we touched on in the earlier shows as well. It comes from Funtronic Labs. Basically, waveboarding / Tony Hawk's, right? That's the kind of vibe we got with some 80s synth pop over the top of it. Looks really fun. You can play as a bear, which their development team seem to have an obsession with teddy bears in their games, because I had a look back at some of the catalogue. They didn't make Bears Can Drift, which I think we alluded to previously, so they didn't make that. But yeah, they've got, if you look back, there's just instances of this bear popping up in most of their games. So
yes,
do some crazy waveboarding. Is it called waveboarding? Is that the right term for the sport?
I guess it's jet skiing, isn't it, really? Is it not on a jet ski?
It looked like some weird half-breed of Wave Race and Tony Hawk's.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I'm game.
I think there's also an element of chaos and destruction and just killing each other at the same time within it. So I think it's going to be, again, it's going to be a ton of fun. Absolute blast with this one.
Now I have our live stream announcements. It may be one.
Definitely. Interestingly enough, though, one of the games that we didn't see, which we presumed from the certifications that came out early, was WWE Playgrounds, Tom. We touched on it on last week's episode when we did our predictions. We'd seen, might have been, I can't remember now. We presumed it was going to come because all the games that got certification, they were all there, bar WWE Playgrounds. Just a no-show. Why do we presume that was? Any thoughts?
I think because it's going to other platforms as well. Mind you.
You think they've got like marketing rights for it, maybe?
Yeah, there might be some sort of, not so much an NDA on it, but, just some sort of agreement in place that basically says until 2K are at the point where they're ready with 2K Battlegrounds to just sort of basically say, right, okay, now you can announce it. But until we say it's in a position to actually publicize, you can't do it.
It could be even as simple as they go on board later than Octopath and PUBG, and it just happens the certification went through quickly.
Perhaps.
It wasn't Google who announced that. That was the ESRB.
Yeah. It could even be down to the fact that everyone who's seen the game, what I've seen, has been shitting on it so far. A lot of the outlets that I've looked at, I just said it looks bad. They've announced they're not going to do a 2021 wrestling game, haven't they? They're going to take a bit more time to put it back in the oven because we know this year's. Which one was this year's? It was a 20K.
2K20. 2K20.
Yeah, that was terrible. That glitching out. We've all seen the funny memes and gifs and videos of people bouncing through the ring and the wires and flying all over the place. So they're going to put that one back a year, and they're kind of filling the gap with this one. And I've seen lots of people just criticize it for looking cheap, bad, very much a game from the early 2000s potentially. Maybe that was the reason they pulled it, but who are we to know?
I don't know. I think it's unlikely for the Connect because I think the Connect's probably been locked in for a couple of weeks now. I don't know.
I just took it out though due to the backlash. Is what I'm thinking.
WWE, it's one of them. It just seems like they need to kind of sit down and rethink what them games are a bit.
Yeah, they were so good back in the day as well. SmackDown versus Raw.
That's generally the consensus I hear. Like, they were great back in the day, but they've kind of just got maybe a bit stale, or now they're a bit broken. It's like they probably need to really think about what is fun about a wrestling game.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, who are we to talk, Tom?
Oh yeah, I'm not a wrestling fan. I'm just speculating.
With any of it, what was
True
it
that.
again?
We're not going to go there, Chris. We're not going to go there. Insert famous wrestling quote here.
Can you smell what's
Can't
Stone
touch this.
Cold's cooking?
Oh no! Here we go.
612. That was Rey Mysterio's thing, right? Yeah, I'm just digging my hole deeper now. I'll go down.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes. So loads of games announced. Really excited. Some big announcements, some smaller announcements. They're all going to come out soon. But games that are coming out soon, so soon that they're already out now as you're listening to this podcast, was our May Pro games. We suspected it last week. They were going to hold off and announce them pretty much live day and day. Now we had to wait, 2 days? And then they were out in our libraries to claim them. We got Zombie Army 4 Dead War, SteamWorld Heist, PUBG, and the Turing Test, all hitting Pro games for May right now. Go check them out. Which of those 4 of you gentlemen jumped into and played? We know PUBG. Have you had a look at the other ones?
Yep, I've played Zombie Army 4 and I've played the Turing Test. Zombie Army 4 is a ton of fun. It's actually it's really, really fun. It's on the surface, it's a shooter. Quite simple in that sort of mechanic. But it very quickly, it's quite sped up. There's an upgrade system for the weapons, and it's got that slowdown mechanic that I love from Sniper Elite. When you get nice rifle headshots straight through, you can see the organs, the explosions, gory as hell. But it takes itself as quite a bit of a joke, really. It's good.
It's quite visceral. It's really fun. I jumped in and played a little bit of it last night, just a couple of hours. Like I said, it doesn't take itself seriously. It very much just throws you in at the deep end. There's no real context. Just here's a montage of some World War footage, and bang, there's a street full of zombies in front of you. Here's your guns. Figure shit out. I have to ask though, Tom, did you adjust your controller sensitivity?
I did. Yeah.
Because my word. As soon as it does drop you in, I was just kind of like,
the sensitivities turn right up for some reason. So you just like
I usually find myself turning sensitivity up in games because I hate when it's like the aiming is sluggish.
Yeah,
I'd rather just get used to it being faster.
Yeah, well, it's third person, so you have got your character. Part of me did feel as though your character was a bit too close to camera. I don't know whether I've just because of the PlayStation games.
Interesting point.
There's a certain kind of like distance he needs to be in the display for it to feel comfortable you controlling him. I almost feel like he's pretty much taken up the whole third of the screen, which when you're trying to aim over shoulder down your sights, there's kind of a disconnect for me anyway, personally.
Do you think that's a bit of a choice by having it close at the camera? It means you get a smaller field of vision?
Yeah, potentially. And obviously God of War was revered because of how well it did all the no cuts away, always over the shoulder, and it zoomed and turned when needed to, but obviously different levels of not everything.
That was a masterpiece, let's be fair.
But you know what? I will definitely echo Tom's sentiments there. I played for a few hours. It was just daft, crazy fun. Who doesn't love killing Nazi zombies? They all should go to hell. And yeah, it was great. You just get a mixed bunch of weapons. Had a lot of Left 4 Dead vibe I got from it as well.
Definitely.
And I will definitely be jumping in with you two and playing some of that because it was just absolutely fun.
I also played the Turing Test as well, and it's quite interesting that you mentioned the element of the character in Zombie Army 4 being possibly too close to the camera, because in the Turing Test, I actually got the feeling almost as if the camera on the character was elevated too high for the character's height. So you start off in a space station above Europa. Before you go down to Europa itself to start it's a puzzle-driven game. So it's very much got an element of Portal to it. You have a gun that you carry around with you, and the idea of the gun is not to shoot things, but it's basically to move obstacles from one location to another. So you have almost like these electrical orbs that you need to take out of one thing to put into a different power supply. And it's all about like checking out circuits and identifying how to make certain logical patterns to be able to progress through the game. But I found it quite jarring that the character feels a lot taller. She feels like some sort of 7-foot demon. That the camera almost like you walk towards the very first door frame that you come to, and it almost feels like your eyes, the level of the camera, just passes the door frame. And I think it's a great game. I think it's beautiful. It's really nice. It's really it's very sci-fi, very sci-fi, but great. And it's a great game, pretty easy, I'd say. It's not too challenging, but it does feel like there's certain elements of it that are a little bit off. So definitely something that I've heard you can beat in like 6-7 hours as well. So I'm going to go through.
Already finish it over the weekend.
Yeah, I was planning to jump in. I've got some videos upload to the YouTube channel today, and once they're finished uploading, I'll be jumping in.
All right, let me know what you think about the camera because that's something. Oh, also a quick pointer: turn motion blur off. Turn motion blur off because the camera once again the sensitivity when you turn is quite quick, and again I feel like the motion blur in it made me feel a little bit like nauseous. Yeah, blah, a little bit blah.
Too close to
But
the
great
television.
game, great game.
Plenty of games. So yeah, some fun games to jump into. SteamWorld Heist, as we know, is out, which we discussed before as well. Another new game which didn't get announced at the Connect, but we have reacted to since, was Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Wow.
Which we won't go too in depth into because obviously we've covered it on our reaction video. Just quick takes. I'm super hyped. I loved Odyssey. I loved Origins. I've got a really rich history with Assassin's Creed, as you can see from this guy up here trying to point at him. He always tries and it jumps on my head every time. For audio listeners, I've got the statue from the Assassin's Creed Odyssey with Spartan jumping off a rock with a spear. Super cool. This pertains back to my argument of do we get collector's editions on Stadia? Am I able to buy a statue for the new upcoming game and have a digital code for Stadia? Who knows? We'll have to see. But the collector's edition's anywhere ridiculously extortionate. It's £180 for the exactly. So that's like 80 odd quid for the deluxe. And then it's for the deluxe version of the game with all the digital content and season pass. Then an additional 80 or so for just the statue. So markups are a bit odd. It's been increasing every iteration. I think the Origins one was only 120. I think 150 for the Odyssey one, and then now we're pushing 280. So
I think they're trying to probably see what's the upper limit they can get away with.
Yeah.
But if you are a Ubisoft fan and you get your Ubi points throughout the games, you do get 20% off those collector's editions on the Ubisoft store. So if you are thinking about buying any merch, rather than get it from Amazon, jump on the Ubi store, and if you've played any game, you should have accrued more than 100 Ubi points by now. Spend them because it's 20% off, so you're getting your money's worth as for being a fan essentially, which is a huge shout.
That's great.
But for me, thrilled by the site of Valhalla. It's not Ragnarok, which I know you keep calling it, Richie. Still cool name, but I'd imagine they wanted to move away from the MCU Thor takes on that. But yeah, super hyped. What about you two?
I'll make it nice and simple. I just echo what Chris said.
Echo.
I'm less hype because I've not been historically been a huge fan of the franchise, but I am intrigued.
Vikings.
Yeah. That's it. You can check out reactions if you want to know a bit more about my opinions.
Certainly, over on YouTube. So moving away from the games then, gentlemen, we did have some quite big stores. We had two extra gaming festivals, I suppose we call them, digital showcases. I have a really sneaky suspicion we're just going to see these come thick and fast now. So we've got GameSpot announced their Play for All gaming celebration, which is going to highlight loads of games. And then off the back of that, in the same week, we had Jeff Keighley, who's of Game Awards fame, well renowned in the industry for bringing everyone together. Hell, he even got Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft bosses all on stage, practically holding hands at one point at last year's Game Awards. Never seen that before in my life. They always have their own conferences to keep to their own fields, essentially. Will we see Phil Harrison up on there with the other Phils? Phil Collins will join them? Well, who knows?
Well, we know that Stadia is going to be present at the GameSpot Play for All. That's already been announced. And Jeff, with Summer Game Fest?
Yep.
Yeah.
They've not announced, but again, the Game Fest one from Jeff Keighley it's running over like 4 months, starting next month. Well, starting this month, in May. It's going to be showcases, demos, which I don't know if
that's going to be interesting.
Like, do you just go to your account and the demo's there to play? I mean, that it could happen. That'd be great. It's if they keep things digital, but essentially, with E3 kind of folding, I think this is probably the nail in the coffin for E3. If all these outlets nail these digital showcases this summer, surely next year, when the world's returned to normal, hopefully, why would you bother dropping thousands upon thousands of pounds at these physical events when you could just do it digitally and have essentially the same return, if not more eyes on you? Like IGN are doing it as well.
Going away fully because it has become over the years more and more consumer-based show, and fans queue up to get in. So from the ESRB, that's probably where they make a lot of their money, which keeps their other operations going. Things like the certification of games. That's probably where they're making the money to keep operational.
I'd agree with Richie on that. It's sort of become like the gaming mecca in a way. It's almost like, you have to make the pilgrimage to E3 in order to sort of, fulfill this sort of dogmatic gaming like mantra that we have going on. But it's also the same sort of thing, like, you say if it goes to a digital platform, yeah, cool. But why do people go to sports matches? People go, it's the experience of it. I think that's very much part of it. So I don't see big events like Gamescom and E3 dying out. I completely get what you're saying, and we'll see what happens with E3, because I know Gamescom has been massively increasing in size as well. So
yeah, and they're also bringing their own digital version of it, which we don't know about just yet, but we mentioned it in previous episodes. Germany's lockdown measures for large gatherings have gone to the end of August now, which overlaps Gamescom's usual date. So just like that, they're going digital. So we've got IGN's we've got Play for All from GameSpot.
Yep.
IGN's Summer of Games, Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, Gamescom Digital, whatever that may be. You'd like to think E3 are trying to pull something together, otherwise they're just going to get blown away by everyone going elsewhere.
Well, supposedly they are offering their platform, we'll call it, quote unquote, but
the YouTube channel.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything else since then, other than all these big announcements from different platforms. So
I think they've already missed the boat, to be honest. Now,
perhaps
Chris, you just reeled off a handful of different ones. Where does E3 sit in there for this year?
Yeah, well. That's it. Once all the storefronts are unified, like literally, where are we going to go for all these announcements and content? Your phone.
Yeah.
So you're not going specifically anywhere different. So what does E3 have over the others, other than the name E3? Whereas the reality is, if people are following, you've got the likes for Twitter and stuff to get your content out there. All it takes is one or two people, big outlets, news outlets, to share and tag it, which we know Eurogamer, Kotaku, IGN, they're going to be all over this. Even though IGN have their own thing, they're not going to shy away from Summerfest or Play for All. Any announcement, any video is going to be in an article on the millions and millions of social feeds. Yeah. It's an interesting world we live in. I, for one, am hyped the fact that games aren't stopping. That if anything, we're getting kind of more announcements. We've got big AAA titles coming out. We've got Stadia Connects dropping on a random date in April. This is fantastic for us who are in lockdown. We're still getting the games, and more importantly, we're able to play them still because we can play digitally. With Stadia, we don't need to download or buy or wait for a delivery man. It's just there and it's there. So this is great. I think we're going to get more of these. Keeps us busy.
Definitely.
Well, when's the Sounds of Stadia Summerfest coming? We're working with E3 behind the scenes. We'll get back to you on that one, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, huge news stuff coming out. Final wrap-ups for the news stories this week then. There's been some more APK file deep dives from our friends over at 9 to 5 Google, which have broken down a few more in-depth views. One of the more interesting things we saw from our friends over at Stadia Source, I saw Duncan go live last night, dropped into his video to see what the hell all the hype was about. And you can now share game links from your Stadia icon when you bring up your profile. Share a game link. So, for example, if I was to bring up my Stadia menu, click on the Sounds of Stadia profile, it would say copy game link, and then I essentially could distribute that to Richie or Tom in a chat conversation. They could click the link, and the link would take them directly into the game lobby. So I know Duncan and Chase and a few others jumped on with Zombie Army 4, and essentially, as soon as the fellow people in the chat clicked the link, they started popping up in the lobby. Didn't have to download or anything, didn't have to boot the game up separately, didn't have to log in. It was just link, clicked, bang, you're in the lobby waiting to play the game, which is huge. That's fantastic.
In essence, it's Stream Connect. It's essentially like, imagine we're streaming and we're hosting a multiplayer game like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or another large title where you could have 10 plus people. You could just copy the link, throw it into your chat, and bam, everybody who's in your chat can join your game.
Yeah, I think the one thing they need to do is at the moment, I think with Stadia, the UI is kind of fractured, where you've got some features on phones, some features on browsers, some features on Chromecast. Now, Chromecast is the usual way I play, so it'd be nice to have that feature if I could just go into it, and then maybe a list of my social feeds that I can go, okay, let's Facebook, drop it in, or my WhatsApp, drop it in.
Yeah, drop it to Twitter, just straight there, press of a button.
It needs that sort of integration to come. I think they just need to unify the UI across platforms a bit.
I agree. I also feel like it actually needs to be tidied up a little bit, because a lot of these things are very hidden away. Like, who would know to click your profile to be able to find that game invite code? it should be very, very, very clear. Like you just hit, let's say on the Chromecast, you're in the lobby, you hit your Stadia button on your controller, and it should be on the menu right there just to go.
Yeah.
Or even just like when you press and hold, and it's got like back to game, exit a game. Just have share link.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
Something
go.
like that.
I think sometimes with Google and a lot of their other products, they always try and hide them behind like a logo or an icon. I know a lot of their mobile, like Richie, you've got the Pixel. Everyone who has an Android phone has a different overlay skin on every single icon. From a Sony, a Samsung, a Google Pixel, the icon for a camera will be very different across each phone, even though they all use the same Android software. So it's interesting how when I look at Stadia, like you allude to there, Richie, why don't they just have a menu and just a couple of bullet points of here's your game share link, here's your add friends, here's your link to your achievements, and instead they're all hidden behind these separate little hamburger icons or a trophy icon or something. Like just give us the human word, give us text, give us some English just front and center for us to read through. There it is. Maybe even just put the icon next to it so we can identify it maybe later on when we're familiar with it. But look at the controller.
Button. Use it.
Look at the controller. You've got how many new buttons do we still not? I can't even remember the name for. Well, we've got the Google. I know the Google Assistant one. What the hell is that? A couple of circles. You've got the capture button, the 3 dots, and the hamburger menu. What? And it's
Well, the 3 lines and the 3 dots, I can never remember the names, like options and menu or something. But it's that Google Stadia button. If you think on PlayStation and I'm assuming Xbox, you have like almost a quick menu if you press and hold it. On the PlayStation, it pops up from the side. You can add people, you can turn off your device, you can change volumes, check your trophy list. Just that sort of integration into that button.
Certainly. But we know they're working on stuff, and we know they like to stealth drop things, and we don't get told about these announcements.
No,
my guess is this is probably going to be on the community blog post later on this week. But another deeper dive into it, we've also heard that there's a messaging service supposedly coming.
Finally,
right? Because I don't know about anyone else out there, but us three, when we play games online, we're currently doing it through Discord because the sound quality is better. We can find each other in a chat really, really easily, and it's not interrupted by the game.
Not everyone has or wants to use a microphone when they're playing online, but sometimes you do need to talk to people. So just a simple messaging service.
We're getting snippets of things that are getting closer. So within the APK, they found certain headings that sort of allure to the fact that a messaging service is coming. Things like notifications, things like being able to like categorize messages, delete messages, see old messages from people. But also we're getting snippets of things like the on-screen keyboard has finally come to Chrome as well. Also, they say, I haven't actually seen it yet. So
no. Nope. Again, from our friend over Stadia Source, I saw a video of them demonstrating it, so it's there.
Maybe a daft question because I've not read the article. When they say on-screen keyboard, is this just like your atypical for touchscreen? Is it?
I imagine it's I imagine it's partially for touchscreen devices, but also for controller interactions. So if you wanted to, like type a message out using a controller, let's say that when they do push out the messenger system, that you want to send a message to one of your friends on your friends list, but you're playing on a Chromecast. You haven't got a keyboard plugged in, so you need to select the player, and then you use your controller, wouldn't you, to type on-screen keyboard from that perspective. Right. That's what I imagine.
Yeah, I just presumed that was already a thing. I think that's why I was like, oh, what's this new feature? Like, it must be something special to utilize a keyboard, and then I can't think of any games where I've used it.
Well, I know Stadia Source, they use Football Manager to demonstrate it.
I suppose, big text-heavy game.
Yeah.
Would probably come in handy as well, Okay, interesting. But another deep dive, another APK file broken over at 9 to 5 Google. And again, I wish they just told us about these things. We didn't have to like scour the depths of the dark web to find out what's going on with Stadia. Give us more pertinent updates.
Absolutely,
it's interesting. we hear news through like fan sites like Stadia Source, and a week later, then we hear it from Google themselves.
Yeah, but that's what's out. That's
the way the world turns.
Yeah, it really is. So just to wrap up with that's it for the news for the week.
Capture. You can now use captures on mobile because that apparently wasn't there. I didn't notice.
But I would presume you would press the button on your controller and it would do it regardless.
I presumed it, but apparently it's now there. So,
win-win. More stuff from the APK deep dives. A few questions. So we reached out to our Patreons, which you can do by heading over to patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia. For as little as 78 pence or $1 you can sign up and send your questions into the show. We had Michael writing this week and simply asked, which games are you most excited about that's been released this year for Stadia, gentlemen? Just give me your number one game that you're excited for.
Oh, now that Assassin's Creed Valhalla's been announced, it's gonna have to be Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, okay.
I like the
Richard?
bait and switch there, but mine is also Cyberpunk. I'm almost not excited anymore for it because it got pushed back into the end of the year, and with everything that's going on in the world, I'm kind of just focusing on what I'm playing at the moment. But it's still Cyberpunk.
Interesting. Well, for me, with the announcement of
Ember
Wave Race,
with Brick.
I'm going to go with my top game for the year is hands down Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
I agree.
As I've mentioned before, so much love for the franchise. It's going to bring that Norse mythology into it, which I also think's a wonderful world to dive into with loads of magic and wonder to happen. It's also, I think, more bankable for me than Cyberpunk. Like, I'm intrigued by Cyberpunk. I'm incredibly hyped by it. I'm like you, Richie. I keep going through those waves of I'm excited, but then I'm not because it's been so long now. Like, we should have been playing it like now, shouldn't? Was that original date, April? Yeah, we should be playing it now. And I think it's almost like soured it a little bit. But also CD Projekt Red, which I wholeheartedly trust after The Witcher 3, doing a first-person game. I'm in a new world. I'm a bit thingy on the IP. Whereas, franchise-wise, Assassin's Creed, it's like kind of most like your comfort food. I can go back to. I know what to expect. I know I'll enjoy it, and more importantly, I know I'm going to get nearly 200 hours.
It's tough. It's tough when two of the biggest things that you're passionate about come out. So like this whole cyber dystopian future, like Blade Runner-esque world, Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out. Love it. Also, Norse mythology. You've seen the tattoo. Bloody love it. Why? But you know what? I'm happy either way.
The other way it would have been Final Fantasy VII versus Cyberpunk. So you get the same thing depending what part of the year.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm actually glad for the delay because of that. It means now I'll have a chance to play Final Fantasy VII.
Now, Tom, I've got an idea for your game.
Okay.
Now. So coming to Stadia as a creator exclusive from the Sounds of Stadia development team, headed by our techie teacher Tom himself, Cyberpunk Ragnarok. Combine Norse mythology with
Cyber Vikings.
Cyber You've got it. Just picture all the tattoos, but with like neon glow to them and blue.
Robo Vikings.
It's God of War meets steampunk.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bring it to life, Tom. Get to work. I'll draw us up some concept art by the end of the week.
I'm sure that IP exists out there somewhere, but hey, great. Let's go.
Let's copyright it.
Techno Viking.
Thank you for your question, Michael. Thank you for writing in. So we are excited for 3 big games coming out to Stadia. Ben also writes in. He's asked, have you all seen, on a personal front, a more positive response to Stadia in recent weeks since Stadia went free for a 2-month trial? What do you think?
Personally, no, because I think I don't really know that many people who were interested in it anyway, so I'm just generally seeing a bit of just apathy to it.
I've seen a more honest approach, is what I would call it, rather than a positive response. I think there are still shortcomings. We cannot hide the fact that there are shortcomings to the service. It's not going to be for everyone because everyone's setup is different. Everyone's ISP is different, and their connection, the way that their connections are routed through the world in general, is different. But I'm starting to see a lot less bias in terms of the approaches from big media outlets. So like IGN have now released 3 reviews on Stadia, not 2. They haven't gone back and re-reviewed it. They've re-reviewed it, is what they've done. So they've gone back and they've looked at it once more and they've given it a very honest opinion. And I kind of like that because we have to admit the games library, while it is now getting bigger, is still lacking compared to other consoles. But we are only 6 months in, so that will be remedied. But more honest.
I agree with you there. But I was thinking more with it being on a personal front, I was thinking more people I know in real life and their attitude, which is why it's just generally, I think people are apathetic to it.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I've spoken to a few friends. I know we had the hashtag Stadia 4Play going, trying to encourage more people. And I reached out to a couple friends and colleagues and just tried to engage them. And there is still that consensus that a lot of people don't know what it's about still.
Yeah.
They've kind of, some have seen it, some have not even heard of it still. I'd be really interested to, if we could get back out on the high street and just ask a handful of people around your local town, have you heard of Stadia? What do you think it is? And how many would actually say, no clue? The hazard a guess. And I think unless you're really, really switched into the games industry, even those who play games predominantly just haven't batted an eyelid towards it. And I think that's down to the marketing. I think they need to still ramp up, which they are doing. But I think to get in the public eye, there's a lot of work still needs to be done.
I'm completely with you there. I haven't really seen any Google Stadia marketing.
So maybe
in the normal world outside the gaming space.
So maybe
not tuned into it.
Let's take a moment. Chris, Grace, not our Chris. Chris from Google and Grace from Google. If you are listening to the podcast, we know you're lurking out there. If you are listening to the podcast, maybe just feedback the fact that this is the general consensus at the moment, is that we sort of feel that perhaps now the focus needs to be shifted to the marketing of Stadia. Thoughts on that? Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. They need to be hitting. I think Stadia's got brilliant potential for the more casual fan, for with the no price of entry. Kids this year are going to be asking for the PlayStation 5 or the new Xbox, which is going to cost probably £500 plus, or Google Stadia for completely free. And I think for hitting the parents, driving that home for things like FIFA 2021, if you are just a FIFA gamer, Stadia can be the place for you 100%, because it means you're not forking out for the hardware.
Okay, so straight from Richie's mouth, hit your parents. That's what Richie just said then.
Yeah, hit your parents.
Hit the parents. Hit the parents. Okay. No, all jokes aside, obviously. So I have never been so excited to buy Monopoly on a video games console in my life.
We need to play.
Sorry, Chris, your thoughts on marketing?
How do we get to Monopoly? What was the sidetrack to that?
Just this idea of hitting the casual market. So hitting the casual market, going for parents, with kids and so on. Like I say, Monopoly is obviously the kind of game that's available on all consoles. It is on every single console.
Yeah.
I've never been so excited to buy it.
You mentioned Monopoly. In the current climate, Monopoly would be a brilliant game for families who maybe have like a board game night but are currently separated because of COVID to go back to that.
I tell you what, I'd be interested to see from Stadia. We've all been out and bought consoles in the past, and you see them advertised, and when you see them, they're always bundled in with like PlayStation with Call of Duty or Xbox with Gears of War or whatever it may be. I wonder if they could maybe market Stadia as like a bundle of specific game titles with just one code, and that code signs you up to it, but also signs you up to it with a library included. So you were saying there with things like Monopoly or maybe Ubisoft with Uplay coming up in the future. If you could bundle it with, here's the Stadia code you would get from wherever you'd buy it online, but one of the links pertains to maybe it's the Hasbro collection, and you get Monopoly. So as soon as you're signed in as a parent or a child, there's a list of games that are linked to your account directly. You've paid like a one-off price for it. Like we've said before, we don't want an annual fee for Stadia. Maybe it's bundle that in with, instead of buying a PlayStation for £400, £500 plus the games, sign up for Stadia, you pay £80 for this pack, you get the subscription for the year for Pro, and you also get a list of these games, whatever it may pertain to be.
Yeah,
there's clever marketing that you can do with just having it all being digital.
There's things you can do in terms of the high street store, being able to walk into your local games retailer and pick up a controller linked with a game. So, okay, you want to get into Stadia, there's your controller. Maybe it's got your Chromecast in there as well, and also here's a code for the game.
I definitely think that it's from the mentality of the consumer as well. It needs to sort of be like, you don't want to have to buy the product. And then I think it would look better if you bought the product, were invested in it. So you bought a controller, like you say, Richie, but then you boot up Stadia and you've got the games there already, rather than having to claim your pro games or, pay then to buy a game or so on. Sort of like a mentality of buying something and having something to do with it straight away.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Marketing strategies and everything aside.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you to our two patrons who wrote in this week with our questions. Remember, if you do sign up, just send them towards us. We'll do our best to get them into the show as well. We want to make question time the kind of segment to pull everything together and wrap up with the current week's news and any theories and stories you've got out there. But that brings us to a wrap for episode 32 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Remember, you can check us out over on youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia. Check out our Twitter account. And keep it locked for everything else. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we've also got our great new partnership with the UK Facebook Stadia group. Don't forget to head over there. If you are new to the platform or the console, it's facebook.com/groups/Google Stadia UK group.
Let them know that you came from the podcast as well. Just give a shout out to the Sounds of Stadia guys on Discord if you get in there as well. Say, hi guys, heard you on the podcast, join the group. But yeah,
because we are in there.
We are in
check
there.
Out our own Facebook page as well. But that is everything from us this week, gentlemen. My name has been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. You knock something then.
Maybe.